I'm gonna give you 18 strategies to increase your show up rate. All right, number one is auto reminders. Most calendars and systems have this in place, but the sequence that we have found that increases show up rates the most is number one, a confirmation email and text. So as soon as someone books an appointment, you're gonna send an email or a text message to them that confirms their appointment. Number two is a 48-hour email and text message reminder. Number three is a day before call reminder. So you can set this up in your system as a voicemail drop that reminds them that they're gonna have an appointment tomorrow. Number four is a 2-hour email and text message reminder. And if you're meeting on Zoom, make sure that you put the Zoom calendar link in the email and the text message itself. Now that's the best structure that we found that has worked. We used to do carrier pigeons, but we stopped doing that because I just wasn't sure if the message was actually getting to the person. And there was also a lot of poop. All right, number two, confirmation system. So in that first reminder, that confirmation email and text message, in email, you want a button that says, please confirm your appointment by pushing this button. And in that button, you can set up something like a trigger link that will tag someone in your CRM that they have confirmed the appointment. Now in the text message, you can say something like, reply back yes to confirm your appointment. Now this acts like a double confirmation. Now the more confirmations you get, the higher likelihood that that person will show up. Unless you have commitment issues and you say you're going to show up to a date at one of the most expensive restaurants in town, and right after that person ordered a $500 bottle of wine, you text that person saying that it's over. Thanks, Debbie. All right, number three, don't let someone book out more than 3 or 4 days in advance. What we found is that the longer the appointment is booked out, the lower chance that you have of getting that person to show up. So if you keep it within 3 or 4 days, we're seeing about a 75 to 80% show up rate. If it goes past that, then that show up rate starts to decrease. And so there's a couple of logistical things that you want to look at here. So if it's like Thursday or Friday, obviously you want to open up that next Monday. But if it's on Monday, they can only book on Monday, maybe later that afternoon, and Tuesday and Wednesday. That's ideal. Now that's assuming that you have enough appointments for them to take, because we also see an increase in calls per booked appointment if there's not that many options morning and afternoons on the calendar itself. So it's kind of like a push and a pull. All right, number four, application questions. So if someone's booking a meeting with you, it's most ideal to get that person to fill out a couple of questions just to make sure that they're a good fit. Now, one of the last questions that we like to ask, I'll pull it here up on the screen. So the question's usually along these lines. We say something like, hey, we respect your time and we'd like to believe that you're a person of integrity and respect ours. Are you going to show up to the call at the date and time that you have selected? Yes or no. Now you could take this one step further and add in a couple of other questions that would disqualify people who may not be a bad fit, which would also increase the quality of appointments, but also increase the show up rate, right? So for example, you could say something along the lines of, if you don't have over a 680 credit score, please do not continue. Or if you're not an established business that's at least doing 10K per month, please do not continue. If your name is Debbie, go away. All right, number five, we call this the tie down. So if you're booking an appointment on a call, like that person hasn't self-booked, they haven't clicked a link to go and book their own appointment, a self-booked appointment. If you are talking to someone, so if an appointment setter or sales rep setting up an appointment, it's best toward the end of the conversation, say, listen, John, I got everything that we have here. I'm going to put all of this together, send this over to the growth consultant that you're meeting with, and we got you down for Thursday at 4. Oh, by the way, aside from a family emergency, do you mind just giving us a heads up if for whatever reason you're not able to make the call? So that does two things. Number one is most of the time that person's going to say, yeah, absolutely, not a problem. So they verbally committed to another human being, this is very important, that they're going to show up. And the second thing, obviously things come up. So if something does come up like a family emergency, they're going to let you know, and you're going to be able to remove that spot from your calendar so someone else can book in. All right, number 6 is probably one of my favorites. We're going to call this the post-calendar booking message. This is going to take a little bit of automation on the back end, but it's worth it. So once someone books an appointment, what you're going to want to do is send out that confirmation email and text message. Then in your system, whatever system that you're using, you're going to set a wait period, 5.3 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes. It doesn't really matter. The point is you don't want it to go immediately after the confirmation so it seems automated. You want this message to seem personal. Now, quick caveat, if you want this message to seem personal, only send this between hours of around 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. because if someone books at 2 a.m. in the middle of the night and this message gets sent out, it's going to look a little unauthentic. And the message goes something like this. Hey John, this is Justin with Conversionly. I just saw your appointment come through. I know life gets busy sometimes. I just wanted to check really quick. Were you able to put this meeting on your calendar? So once that message gets sent out, it seems as if that message is coming from a human being, not an automation. And what we found is there's a lot higher likelihood that that person engages and responds to that message. Now, if someone self-books through a calendar or through a funnel or through ads, what we found is if they engage, if they reply back yes through an email, through a text message, if they click the confirmation button, there's an extremely higher likelihood that they show up to the meeting. So this is in an effort to get them to respond so that we get that engagement so that they do have a higher likelihood to show up. All right, number 7, this is something that all of our closers and all of our sales reps do, and it's called PreCall Engagement. Now, once someone books an appointment, they'll get the confirmation email and text message. They'll get the message that says, hey, just wanted to make sure you put this on your calendar. Sometimes people won't respond to that. So what we'll do is the day before the appointment is we'll say, hey, John, just looking over your applications. I got a couple of quick questions. And so what we'll do is the day before the appointment, we'll try to send a text message or an email, and we'll say, reference something in their application. So if they filled out an application to book a time, we'll say, hey, look, I was going over your application and I just got a couple of quick questions about, and then mention an answer that they put in their application and then the specific question. And then once you get a response, that person has a higher likelihood to show up. And if they don't respond, we'll talk about that in number 10 in just a few minutes. All right, number 8 is a personal reminder. Now, obviously we have the automated reminders. What I want our sales reps doing, and you can do this if you're a business owner as well, you should be sending out a personal reminder because it's very hard to personalize a message when you're using automations. And what we found is the more automations that you use usually doesn't yield a higher show up rate, conversion rate, booked appointment rate, like whatever it is. What we found is that the more human to human interaction that you have, the higher those numbers become. So what we found that works best is if you have AM appointments, you send out this personalized message the evening before. And if you have evening appointments or PM appointments, like appointments in the afternoon, you send this message the morning of. And it's very simple. I'll put it up here on the screen. It's like, hey, contact first name. This is Justin over here at Conversionly. Just prepping for our call tomorrow. Are you still good for 9 a.m. Eastern? Question mark, right? And so if you look at the message, 9 a.m., the AM isn't capitalized, right? You get that a lot with automated messages. And the EST, right? You could lowercase the EST to make it seem like it's coming from a human being. And you can also try to customize the message as much as possible. If you have their application, you can see like, were they struggling with lead generation or was it appointment conversion? And you can say in the message, hey, I'm really looking forward to talking about all things lead generation and appointment conversions because I know that you mentioned that was one of your biggest pain points. All right, number 9. Personal reminder videos. Very similar to number 8, but what you're going to do is record a Loom video, use their first name, and let them know that you're looking forward to the call. Send that to them, and it's a little more personalized than just a text message or an email. Just make sure you keep your pants on. Don't go to jail. All right, number 10, cancellation messages. If for whatever reason the person hasn't confirmed, they haven't replied back to you, you don't know if they're going to show up because they're not responding to any of your messages, what I recommend is the evening before the call, like later on in the evening, you give them a little bit of time to respond. If a couple hours has gone by, they haven't responded, you send a cancellation message. And so we'll put it up here on the screen, but so the gist of it is like, hey, contact first name, this is Justin with Conversionly. Haven't heard from you and it looks like you haven't confirmed your appointment. If we don't hear back from you by the end of the day, we will cancel the appointment just because there's a lot of people that are looking for opportunities to book a time with us. And if this is a mistake, please let us know. We can send another scheduling link so you can rebook your time. All right, moving right along. Number 11, multi-point touches. If for whatever reason they don't show up and the call is like 4 p.m. and it's 4:01, 4:02, make sure you give them a call. Do like a bulldog call where you call them, they don't answer, you hang up, you call them again, and if you want to be psycho, you could hang up and call right back and do it a third time, and leave them a voicemail, then send them a text message, and then send them an email. Because like they could have their email up, they don't have the phone, they have their phone on silent, they don't get the text, they don't get the phone call, but boom, they see an email like, oh my gosh, I need to show up to this call. Or they have their email totally shut off and then the phone rings and then they'll pick up and they're like, oh, I have an appointment right now, let me hop on Zoom. So you want to make sure you connect with them on email, phone number, and text. All right, number 12, post-booking content. So if someone books an appointment, you want to redirect them to a thank you page that has a video that goes over everything that you do about your product and your service, but omits certain parts that entices the curiosity so they want to show up. So this video, its focus is selling why it's worth them showing up to the call, and also at the same time disqualifying any bad fits. You can also use this in your confirmation automatic reminder messages, or your sales reps can send this out saying something along the lines of, hey, it'd be really beneficial if you watch this entire video. It'd really help us hit the ground running for our call. Looking forward to our call tomorrow, Thursday at 4. All right, number 13, 5-minute post-booking phone call. So we started implementing this after we started booking about 50 appointments per day. A lot of those appointments were self-booked through like an application funnel, or through they saw an ad and they entered in their information, got an application, and they booked a time. So what we wanted to do was make sure that they spoke to someone before the sales call, because the theory that we had was it would increase show-up rates and would also increase the close rates. So we had our appointment coordinator, and this person's sole job is to look at all the applications and all the appointments that come through, just to check for quality and make sure that they are confirming their appointment. So after they book, within 5 minutes, the appointment coordinator calls, confirms the appointment, and then also asks a couple of qualification questions. And then they can use the line that says, hey, by the way, if for whatever reason, like if you're not able to make the call, please let us know. And what we saw is when someone confirms after they self-booked an appointment, when someone confirms with a real life human being, it increases the show rate. Number 14, add value to the call. This one's a little tricky. You want to increase the incentive that they have to show up to the call by adding as much value as possible. So I'm going to pull up an example here on the screen. You can see we say, hey, Justin here with Conversionly. I'm looking forward to our call tomorrow. Hey, real quick, I was able to speak to a couple of our marketing strategists. I know that you said lead generation was your #1 problem. I got a couple of really cool strategies that I want to share with you tomorrow. Looking forward to talking to you. So if you can weave in some type of value that increases the incentive that they have to show up, you'll see your show up rates increase. Number 15, add undeniable proof where you can. So you want to make sure that they consume content like case studies, reviews, testimonials. They can do that on the landing page. If you've booked them personally, you can send them that in the reminder emails and text messages, send them to a page that has all of that information on there. If they go through the funnel, you can put all the testimonials and case studies on the thank you page. And if you send them any type of content like a video for them to watch, make sure down below in another section it has a bunch of case studies and a bunch of testimonials to create undeniable proof. Now, along the lines of undeniable proof, I'm going to share something with you guys I haven't seen anybody else talk about. So in our business, we hold our sales calls on Zoom. So what happens normally in a Zoom room is you're just sitting there waiting for someone to show up, and it says your meeting will start soon. So I had this idea, so how could we create undeniable proof while they're just sitting there waiting? So to get personal a little bit, me and my wife are struggling with infertility, and so we've been seeing some specialists. And I was in one specialist room, and they had on a wall lists of all the people that they've helped create babies for. Not create babies for, but you guys get what I'm saying. They've helped them make babies, these infertility specialists. And they had all of this social proof on the wall, and I'm like, oh, that's a really good idea. How can we do that? And so I was like, I wonder if we could put like a picture or a video in the waiting room in Zoom. And so I'll pop up the Zoom settings, and wouldn't you know, you can upload a video inside of Zoom. So what we did is we created like a 3-minute mashup of case studies and testimonials of all of our clients talking about the great success that they have by working with us. And now when you get on our Zoom and you're in the waiting room, that video starts automatically, and it's just undeniable social proof right before they get on the sales call. So use that to your guys' advantage and let me know how it goes. All right, number 16, call medium. So call medium, essentially Zoom versus a phone call versus in-person. Obviously, in-person meetings are going to have a higher likelihood that someone shows up. Now, some B2C offers, if you're doing like insurance or if you're working with the elderly, they may not be as equipped to work Zoom as someone who's like a millennial or Gen Z. Like, no offense, but you just you need to think about that type of stuff, because if you're doing sales calls and there's a high amount of friction for them to actually get on the call, it will impact your show up rates. Like, for example, you should have seen my grandma try to use Zoom when the pandemic happened. 17, a 2-call close. Now, a 2-call close is defined by the first call being like a triage call. You're going through a series of questions, qualifying or disqualifying this person, and then setting up a second call. And normally, when you've already had a first call with somebody, that second call, you'll see a higher show-up rate. And last but not least, number 18, prepaid appointments. This is probably the hardest one to use, but if used successfully, you will see the highest show up rates. So now, an example I can give you is if a chiropractor was doing a $19 assessment, then they would pay that $19 up front, and then they would get reimbursed with a gift card, or that $19 could go toward a treatment plan, something like that. So there are two reasons, really only two reasons, why people do not show up. Number one is they totally forget, or number two is they choose to do something else. So if you follow all of these strategies and tactics, you should eliminate number one. So it really becomes they are choosing to do something else. Time is the most valuable asset that we have. We can always make more money, but we can't get more time. And time is what we are asking for with a meeting. To get someone to give you their time, they're going to need to believe that the perceived value of the call exceeds the loss in time. It's your job to sell them and continue to sell them on why the call is more valuable than anything else they could be doing. Picking up the kids, returning an email, going on a walk outside, cooking the dinner, going to the gym, whatever it may be. If they don't show up to your call and they hadn't outright just forgot, then whatever they're doing is more valuable than your meeting. If you can figure that out, then you will never have to worry about your show up problems again. If you like that episode, press here for a list of the top videos from our YouTube channel. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe, guys. Adios.